On March 7th, President Biden signed an executive order related to voting and how we run our elections. I will read to you the executive order as follows. Executive Order on Promoting Access to Voting. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1. Purpose. The right to vote is the foundation of American democracy. Free and fair elections that reflect the will of the American people must be protected and defended. But many Americans, especially people of color, confront significant obstacles to exercising that fundamental right. These obstacles include difficulties with voter registration, lack of election information, and barriers to access at polling places. For generations, Black voters and other voters of color have faced discriminatory policies and other obstacles that disproportionately affect their communities. These voters remain more likely to face long lines at the polls and are disproportionately burdened by voter identification laws and limited opportunities to vote by mail. Limited access to language assistance remains a barrier for many voters. People with disabilities continue to face barriers to voting and are denied legally required accommodations in exercising their fundamental rights and the ability to vote privately and independently. Members of our military serving overseas, as well as other American citizens living abroad, also face challenges to exercising their fundamental right to vote. The Constitution and laws of the United States prohibit racial discrimination and protect the right to vote. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 and other federal statutes implement those protections and assign the federal government a key role in remedying disenfranchisement and unequal access to the polls. In passing the National Voter Registration Act of 1993, the Congress found that it is the duty of the federal, state, and local governments to promote the exercise of the fundamental right to vote. Executive departments and agencies should partner with state, local, tribal, and territorial election officials to protect and promote the exercise of the right to vote, eliminate discrimination and other barriers to voting, and expand access to voter registration and accurate election information. It is our duty to ensure that registering to vote and the act of voting be made simple and easy for all those eligible to do so. Section 2. Policy. It is the policy of my administration to promote and defend the right to vote for all Americans who are legally entitled to participate in elections. It is the responsibility of the federal government to expand access to and education about voter registration and election information and to combat misinformation in order to enable all eligible Americans to participate in our democracy. Section 3. Expanding access to voter registration and election information. Agencies shall consider ways to expand citizens' opportunities to register to vote and to obtain information about and participate in the electoral process. A. The head of each agency shall evaluate ways in which the agency can, as appropriate and consistent with applicable law, promote voter registration and voter participation. This effort shall include consideration of 1. Ways to provide relevant information in the course of activities or services that directly engage with the public, including through agency materials, websites, online forms, social media platforms, and other points of public access, about how to register to vote, how to request a vote-by-mail ballot, and how to cast a ballot in upcoming elections. 2. Ways to facilitate seamless transition from agencies' websites directly to state online voter registration systems or appropriate federal websites such as vote.gov. 3. Ways to provide access to voter registration services and vote-by-mail ballot applications in the course of activities or services that directly engage with the public, including A. Distributing voter registration and vote-by-mail ballot application forms and providing access to applicable state online systems for individuals who can take advantage of those systems. B. Assisting applicants in completing voter registration and vote-by-mail ballot application forms in a manner consistent with all relevant state laws. And C. Soliciting and facilitating approved nonpartisan third-party organizations and state officials to provide voter registration services on agency premises. 4. Ways to promote and expand access to multilingual voter registration and election information and to promote equal participation in the electoral process for all eligible citizens of all backgrounds, and 5, whether consistent with applicable law, any identity documents issued by the agency to members of the public can be used in a form that satisfies state voter identification laws. B. Within 200 days of the date of this order, the head of each agency shall submit to the Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy a strategic plan outlining the ways identified under this review that the agency can promote voter registration and voter participation. C. The Administrator of the Office of Electronic Government, Office of Management and Budget, shall, consistent with applicable law, coordinate efforts across agencies to improve or modernize federal websites and digital services that provide election and voting information to the American people, including ensuring that federal websites are accessible to individuals with disabilities and people with limited English proficiency. As appropriate, the Administrator of the United States Digital Service may support agencies in implementing the strategic plans directed in subsection B of this section. There are further sections to this executive order, however, they go beyond the scope of this video. If you would like to read the rest of this executive order, the link is in the description below.